Willows, welcome to Monday's English lesson. To start with, I've got some boring old sentences here. 3 very boring sentences that don't have much detail in. The rain poured down, it was snowing in the city, dust blew across the sky. I would like you to rewrite these sentences in your best handwriting, adding in an adjective, a describing word, and maybe an adverb if you feel like you want to challenge yourselves. So pause the video, rewrite these sentences in your best handwriting so that I can see them later when you post a picture. Okay, let's get started with our English lesson today. So last week you absolutely wowed me with your writing about the Great Fire of London. So many of you have posted some amazing writing, some diary entries about how scared you felt and just all the detail, the amazing orangey skies, and just you blew me away. Check the blog for some children's work, which I thought was really fantastic on that. So this week, for our final week looking at diary entries, we are going to write independently, and you are going to choose this week if you would like to write about an imaginary, so these didn't really happen, you're just pretending, an imaginary great flood of London, great blizzard of London, or great dust storm of London. So pause the video now and have a little think. Which one would you like to write now? We're not doing fire, we're moving away from the Great Fire of London. We're thinking about these 3 things. Pause the video and have a little think. Choose which one. Okay, let's have a look at some of these. Let's look at some pictures to try and get our brains going and trying to inspire us a little bit before we start thinking about anything else. So let's have a look at the Great Flood of London. So we're imagining that this would have happened in the past tense. Didn't really happen, we're just pretending, we're just being imaginative writers. Have a little look at these pictures and think about how they might make you feel. And think about the sort of things you notice. Just have a little look at them. This one, I think, has been made up. I think someone's done that on the computer because London has never looked like that. But a lot of these are real pictures of floods around the world that have happened. Destroyed cities, caused so much chaos. The Great Blizzard of London. So if you want to imagine snow, if you've got a wintry mind at the moment, imagine a big blizzard, which means a snowstorm has fallen on London. It's made the city grind to a halt. No one can do anything. Here we've got pictures of trains in the snow, lots of cars buried, people having to dig their way out onto the streets completely deserted, and imagine all the trees looking so beautiful. The last one, which might be a bit tricky to imagine because we've never experienced this. We haven't really ever had dust storm in the UK. But in some parts of the world, dust comes into the city or in the sky and it turns the whole sky this funny kind of orange hazy colour. And this we're imagining, remember, so it doesn't have to be real, a great dust storm of London. So if you feel like challenging yourself a bit, because I reckon this is probably the most challenging one to think of adjectives and descriptive vocabulary, this one might be one for you, the Great Dust Storm of London. So today, to generate some ideas before we get started on any proper writing, so don't do any real proper story writing, diary writing today, you're going to choose one of these. So you're either going to choose only one, you don't need to do all of them, either the Great Dust Storm of London, the Great Blizzard of London, or the Great Flood of London. And I've attached all 3 to this lesson on Seesaw, but you only need to do one of them, okay? Don't go ahead doing all of them. We are still thinking about our writer's toolkit, which we were looking at last week. We want to include adjectives, we want to have adverbs, we are making sure our verbs are in the past tense. We're imagining this happened a long time ago. And to challenge yourself, try and add some who and which sentences. So, I'm going to pretend that I am in year 2 and I have chosen to do the Great Blizzard of London. You have got a sheet that is all about the senses, so things that you might have noticed when this event happened. So you've got what you saw, what you might have heard, what you might have smelt, and what you might have felt inside, like your feelings, or what you might have touched. And you've got some word maps that I've also attached at the end of here to give you some ideas. So I'm going to try and challenge myself, and I'm going to start with what I might have heard. So I heard. What would I have heard in the Great Blizzard of London? Let's look at that word map. Ooh, nice. Oh, icicles. I like the word icicles. What would I have heard icicles doing? Maybe icicles dripping from the buildings. So I'm going to see if Miss Hallgarton can add, be a bit high tech. Oh yeah, look, I can. Okay, so I heard icicles dripped from the snow-covered buildings. Ooh. Why do I like that sentence? I like that sentence because it's in the past tense. We've got dripped and covered. But could I maybe make that a bit better with an adjective? How could I describe? I guess snow-covered is an adjective, but how could I describe those icicles? What about, I'm going to change that from a capital letter, I don't need that. What about glistening? Glistening icicles dripped from the snow-covered buildings. Can you imagine hearing that drip, drip, drip sound as the icicles dripped from the buildings? So that's what I would like you to do. In each of the boxes, what you saw, what you heard, what you might have felt or touched, and maybe what you might have smelt. That might be a bit tricky, the smelling one, but just have a go. You've got these word mats attached. We've got a stormy one, which will help with the flood. We've got a snowy one, which will help with the blizzard. Also got rain, which will help with both of those. And I thought I couldn't find a word mat for a sandstorm or a dust storm. So I thought maybe using these foggy words, because actually when a dust storm happens and there's all this dust haze in the sky, it would be very foggy. So have a go at using some of these words if you're doing a dust storm. So just to recap, choosing one of these that is attached to the end of our seesaw lesson, using a word mat and thinking about all the senses that you would experience in either the Great Dust Storm of London, the Great Blizzard of London, or the Great Flood of London. I am so excited to see your ideas and all your descriptive writing, and I will see you tomorrow.